Welcome to the Saints Happy Hour podcast featuring Dave Cariello, Andrew Juge,
That's
Ralph
me.
Malbrough, and when he decides to show up, Kevin Held. We are the perfect blend of Saints sincerity and stupidity.
Wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
No, I got the other one too. I'm just reading the wrong one.
You just went full Ralph.
You never go full Ralph.
You went Ralph to a level that Ralph hasn't gone.
Hey Ralph, here's a new opening.
And now, here's your host, Ralph Malbrough.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Saints Happy Hour podcast. We are a day late because the stomach flu virus nearly killed me. And
I told everyone you had Zika. Is that not accurate?
Wait,
I'll
Zika?
tell you what I almost
You mean
had.
Zika?
Zika? Yeah, sorry.
The greater New Orleans area and the internets almost got to see me vomit live on TV with Eric Paulson, which I was scared to death. I should have
on TV with Eric Paulson, which
I should have bailed out of that. I should have bailed out of that live hit, but it was too late. When it was by the time I realized that I shouldn't be doing it, it was too late, and I just had to tough it out. And I just thank the Lord in heaven that I didn't vomit or crap my pants on live TV.
Well, frankly, I'm disappointed. I was kind of hoping I would see you do those
That's
things.
exactly what I was going to say.
It would have been totally on brand.
It would have been on. It would
Could
have been on.
have gone viral.
It would
Could have joined Scott Walker in the annals of viral local news clips.
Yeah, I could have. I would have made the Boom Goes the Dynamite guy from like 15 years ago look like a competent sportscaster.
It could have been the new cha-ching.
So, anyway, the Saints did not crap their pants. They went to Seattle and won a football game against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle hadn't lost into September, I think, ever under Pete Carroll. Dave, I said in my column.
9/11 truther. He's a 9/11 truther.
He got clocked in the face with a
just
football.
so we're clear.
He was clocked in the face by a football before the game, too, and it went downhill from there. But, Dave, I said it was maybe, besides the Gleason game, which is in its own category, the most emotionally satisfying win that the Saints have had in the Sean Payton era, and maybe since Aaron Brooks made his first start against the Rams in 2000. Like, it was that much fun and that satisfying to watch them win in the rain in Seattle without Drew Brees.
I think I was so surprised that of everything that was happening that I wasn't really totally emotional about it. I was just really kind of stone-faced and just really in shock and awe. The games that I always remember that I always love are the ones that come down to like last second field goals or overtime or something like that. I mean, this didn't have any exciting ending. It was just a good game to watch from beginning to end because of the way that the Saints, I mean, for the most part, dominated. I don't feel like the final score is indicative of how the game actually played out, especially with Tyler Lockett catching all those garbage time catches and fucking me in fantasy football. But that's neither here nor there. But, look, they got, it was, obviously getting the touchdown the first time they touched the ball with Deontay Harris's punt return. Obviously, that's huge. You want to get on the board early, just like you want to start the season, hot right out the gate. You want to start a game like that too. So that was key. Obviously they got the defensive fumble recovery. Hallelujah. The refs didn't blow the play dead. We got to see them score a touchdown finally, and for the most part, we really did get the benefit of all the calls in this game.
I'm really
the Saints got
disappointed
every
that our
freaking
first
call.
segment of. I'm really disappointed that our first segment of "How are the refs gonna fuck us?"
Yeah, it's over.
It's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
What was
well,
more
we should do
surprising,
it again
Andrew,
because it was a good reverse jinx, right?
what was
Yeah,
more
that's true.
surprising, the Saints getting the punt return or getting call after call in that game?
So it wasn't not Deontay Harris's punt return. Not surprising at all. He's been so close. We've all seen, we've all been watching in the last 3 games and in preseason. We all knew that was inevitable. I thought one of us either this last week or the week before, thought one of us had predicted that he was going to break one and get one. So he finally did. That wasn't really surprising.
I think it was you, Dave.
I honestly, I really don't remember. And I don't know if it was last week. It might have been
I
the
gotta
week
go back and watch the tape. I gotta go right back and do the tape.
But so that wasn't surprising at all. What was surprising is, well, let me say this. Alvin Kamara, I obviously with Teddy Bridgewater, he wasn't going deep. I don't think he went deep all game. Everything was a lot of dink and dunk stuff.
We'll talk about that in a second.
I know. Make him feel comfortable. And so when you've got Alvin Kamara on your team, who you can do a screen pass or throw over the middle or just use as a safety, I don't think the Saints win that game with any other. I don't care. You could give me Zeke. You could give me Dalvin Cook. You could give me Saquon Barkley. I don't care who you give me. I don't know if any of those guys can do what Alvin Kamara does. He is like Pierre Thomas on steroids. He is untouchable. You cannot bring him down. He's got incredible vision. He just zigs when the other guy zags, and he's got great presence of mind to know when to zig when he should zig and when to zag when he should zag. And he uses his blockers very well. He's very patient when he runs, and he's not afraid to get behind blockers and wait for the right moment to attack. So Alvin Kamara absolutely.
That's it.
Is the star of this game, and I don't think the Saints win this game without Alvin Kamara. Because Teddy, he did very good. I'm not going to say he did great, but he did good. He did what we wanted. The short throw, the short throw to Michael Thomas. The short throw to Michael Thomas on the touchdown, that was good. I like that. I mean, he was at least semi-accurate, and obviously they put him in a position to win. I think it was obvious that the game plan was, let's give Teddy as much help as possible and let's make it easy for him. And it was great. It was and Sean Payton totally outcoached.
Like I picked the wrong week with amphetamines.
And I mean, obviously, you talk about the turnovers, but the fourth down stops, those are half turnovers right there. I mean, that's just a continuation of winning the turnover battle. And when you win the turnover battle like the Saints did, there's a good chance you're going to win the game.
Andrew, he makes an interesting point.
We didn't win the turnover battle.
It was 1-1, but if you add in the fourth down stops, they kind of did.
Right?
Oh,
yeah. Why is turnover on downs? Just sidebar here.
It's like a half turnover in my mind.
What? I agree. Why is turnover on downs not a turnover? That's the dumbest thing ever.
I think turnover on downs should be a turnover, and I think a missed field goal should be a turnover. Because I feel like a missed field goal when you get the ball and you get that juicy field position because they move it back.
Yeah, they put it back to the spot, or the holding spot,
But
but turnover on downs not being a turnover, it's kind of like that. The two things that have always been huge pet peeves for me in the NFL is, number one, a turnover on downs should count as a turnover, and number two, if there is a quarterback that does grounding, the closest defender should get a sack credit for that. Because it's totally unfair that you can be like going down, getting sacked, and just like chuck the ball out of bounds, short of the line of scrimmage or whatever, and then the guy loses a sack. That's always been a pet peeve of mine. The closest defender to the quarterback during a grounding play should get a sack credit.
Here. Wait. The only other thing I want to say about the game, I didn't write these notes, but I had them in my head, and I wanted to make sure I get them out. The other thing I wanted to say is, you and I was texting with you guys during the game at the beginning of the game, and Ralph, you were saying they were getting breaks, and I had a bone to pick with that because I don't feel like getting a punt return touchdown is catching a break. I feel like that's what you try to do, and it finally happened. And I don't think it was surprising that Deontay Harris finally broke one. And I don't consider getting a fumble, causing a fumble and recovering it, running it back for a touchdown. I don't think that's a break either. They're coaching that. They're going for the turnovers.
But I mean that play.
But I will say
the Saints could have got. I expected the Saints to get fucked 4 ways from Sunday on that call,
right.
though.
Now, I will say after I texted you they did start getting lucky breaks because they didn't get the call when the guy threw him when they threw Russell Wilson or whoever it was, the receiver, I guess.
Davenport.
Yeah, Davenport threw him to the ground out of bounds. That should have been called. Obviously, they got called on the field goal kick.
By the way, we need
that
to congratulate Al Woods, former Saints draft pick, for finally doing something positive for the Saints. He was the one that lined up wrong on Will Lutz's missed field
It only
goal.
took him a decade, but
It only took him a decade, but hey, he came through.
I got two things to mention about the chat room real quick. Susan Collins, I have no idea who you are. I don't think I've ever seen your name before on this podcast. So if you're
the senator from Maine is in the chat room.
Welcome.
Wow.
But she said a normal turnover.
Famous person ever in the chat room. We got the senator from Maine.
Yeah, we got Susan Collins, but she says a normal turnover is an unplanned mistake. A turnover on downs is planned, and the risk is known and taken. I mean, that is the most articulate explanation. I mean, fair enough. Well said. I didn't consider
that doesn't
that.
make it
wrong.
That doesn't make it not a turnover. That's just. I think that argument. I don't know if it's an argument, but I think what she's saying is that.
Well, that's the distinction, and that's why it's not called a turnover, I guess. But I mean, that's a good explanation. I'll give her credit for that. Number two, and this is what I wanted to say about this game. Nola posted that the leg was money, goat punter, par for the course with that dude.
Right. Yes.
My thing about Morstead. Okay, listen. First of all, four punts of his six. 4 out of his 6 punts were inside the 20. One of them was out of bounds at the 2. The other one was caught by Justin Hardy at the 4. Despite the fact that he had a 56-yard gross average, which usually when you're punting the ball that big means you're setting up returners. He gave up 12 return yards on 6 punts. That's 2 yards per punt return. His net was 52. 52 yards net in that weather. And like usually
ridiculous.
Like a net of like 42, 44, that's pretty good. He had 52. This was I'm not exaggerating here, at least in my perspective. That was the best punting performance I've ever seen in my life.
Bill Belichick
it wasn't Alvin Kamara. It wasn't Eli Apple punching the ball out. It wasn't Von Bell scoring the defensive touchdown. It wasn't Deontay Harris running the punt back.
It's not sexy.
The player of the game was Thomas Morstead, period, end of story.
I would agree with that. I would just say
I don't agree with that, but
it was by far his best performance. I mean, I think him or Kamara, but I gotta lean slightly to Dave in that. Man, Alvin was so good. He was good. And they're gonna have to pay him all the money.
All of it.
All
of it. They're gonna need like 3 Brinks trucks.
I mean.
You know he had 60% of the offense in yards gained.
I mean, Andrew, if he says he wants Michael Thomas money, they have to give it to him, right? Like, especially if Brees retires. They can't, they can't not pay him.
I think they're going to have to take money from Michael Thomas, somehow steal it from him, and give it to Alvin.
Can they just steal it from Drew?
Super
since he's not
Deform
playing?
says Ramczyk is the player of the game. We need to talk about
Trading Drew Brees.
Well, I mean, clearly that's the thing. But me and Andrew have been fighting with the Saints Twitter people. They have a group on Saints Twitter that I don't know if they're ever going to be happy with what Teddy Bridgewater gives them. I think if he goes for 350 and 4 against Dallas, they'll move the goalpost. I don't know what you want from Teddy Bridgewater in the rain when you're up 20-7. Like, he game managed it, they got the win, and people are like, well, his ADOT score, which is average depth of
my
throw,
God.
was
What?
I'm like, I got an IDOT
podcast
stat for you. I got a win. I mean, I just feel like
I've never even heard of that in like 15 years.
They overanalyze these quarterbacks so much that we would Andrew, we would not have done this at fucking all if Drew Brees had done this Sunday. People I would not see screenshots of open
No.
Ted Ginn or open Cook or whatever the fuck. No one would have done this for Drew Brees. No one would have said they would have been his score was bad, whatever, or they'd have thrown out an advanced stat. No one would have broke it down like the goddamn Zapruder film and explained to me why. No, actually, the game that the Saints won on the road in Seattle, Teddy Bridgewater actually was garbage. No, we wouldn't have done it if it was Brees, and it just annoys me to no end.
Well, I mean, there are people. There is a small pocket of people. I'm sure that some of these are the people that are arguing with you guys on Twitter. There's a small pocket of people, yes, who will never be happy, who may be racially motivated to not be happy. But I think that we also need to keep in mind that as far as this discussion about Teddy Bridgewater, there's two components to it. There's the people, I think, like you, Ralph, who are only looking at it from the window of we just need him to do well for these 6 games. And then there are some people who are looking at it from the window of he's supposed to be Drew's heir apparent, so
the future audition.
Right. So, we need to see him continue to develop so we know that he's going to be the next in line, or we know whether we need to move on or whatever. And so those two things don't necessarily jive. So you got to make sure that when you're arguing with somebody on Twitter that you're comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges.
Well, I think they're 2 bad drives away versus Dallas for people wanting Taysom. I think there's a
2. I think there's people out there that want Taysom to start.
I mean, they
I
couldn't
want to see
say
it just
anything.
for shits and giggles, just because it would just be fun and exciting.
I mean, it's if you run the car into a ditch, it would be exciting too. I mean,
Okay, let's do that too.
I mean,
Taysom Hill in the rain in Seattle throwing 30 passes would have been a fucking abject disaster. But Andrew, I want you to make your point that you made to me while I was driving and trying not to crap my pants going to work, and I had to turn around on Monday. You made the point that people, they view these quarterbacks as sort of like they're frozen in time, and they're what they're going to be for all time, and they don't see improvement or getting worse. They view Teddy Bridgewater as what he did Sunday. That's all he'll ever be with the Saints, and that evidence shows that might not be the case, and we have that with Drew Brees.
Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing it's one of those things for me where guys can get better, they can get worse, and I just don't accept that. Hey, here's film from 2 games, and here's a couple screenshots, and here's 3 plays I'm going to run for you that I got from coach's film, and this is what it's going to be like forever. I just feel like as we do this as fans, we are in such a hurry to have it all figured out. We know what Teddy Bridgewater is. And my thing is, you go back to Drew Brees, his first start with the Saints. He threw for under 200 yards. He had a touchdown. He had an interception. I think he completed like 60% of his passes, and the Saints beat Cleveland. And how did we feel about that win? Were we saying, yeah, Drew Brees, he's not the quarterback of the future. It's time to get rid of him. First game, let's unload him. When the Saints beat the Falcons 20-3, and one of those touchdowns was Steve Gleason blocking a punt and Curtis DeLoach picking it up and scoring. Brees, I think in that game, he threw under 200 in that game too. Really, for him to start in 2006, the Saints were 3-0 to begin, and he really wasn't playing great. He was just kind of being a game manager. Now, I'm not saying that Bridgewater is going to do that. I'm not saying that he's going to win against Dallas, and I don't know what happens from here. But My point is, can we just evaluate this guy on a week-to-week basis and not draw conclusions from what he did in the rain at Seattle? I think it's imprudent, and I just think it's jumping to conclusions. It's awfully presumptive.
I don't disagree. And by the way, Ralph, you still haven't gotten the Office Space jump to conclusion sound bite. We could have used it again right there. But
I have this,
Yeah,
though.
I'm not gonna work here anymore anyway. Yeah, Mr. Mike.
I don't disagree with Andrew's overall point, but I don't know. Comparing Drew Brees' first 3 games, I mean, we as a fan base, as a city, we were in a totally different place.
Yes.
Done with Aaron Brooks. We were looking to latch on
Recovering from Katrina.
Yeah, but we were looking to latch on to anything. So I think if you put if Teddy Bridgewater was the one that came in and he won the first 3 games, and I think and played just mediocre quarterback, I think there still would have been an affinity for him. So I don't know if you can compare those 2 things.
Well, I just think the thing that is frustrating to me is, like Andrew said, you don't know if it's going to get better or if it's going to be worse. But the thing is, I was arguing with someone. They were saying, look, if the Saints had fallen behind and hadn't had a punt return for a touchdown and hadn't had a fumble recovery and they were behind, Teddy Bridgewater wouldn't have been able to do what Russell Wilson did in the rain and throw for 400 yards and take the Saints from behind. I'm like, well, yes, on Earth 2, in the game that you watched, where it didn't go well for the Saints and they fell behind, Teddy Bridgewater had to do these things in this game that you watched that was horrible. I can't criticize him for not being able to do the thing that he didn't have to do to win the game. It's just, did he do enough to win the game? Yes. We have 5 more weeks without Drew Brees, and the Saints, not only did they win, they moved alone in first place, and every week that they stay in first place and they're a week closer to Drew getting back is a huge win. It was like a double win on Sunday, Andrew, because not only did they win, they gained ground without Drew Brees, and that's how I want. I just be in first place when Drew gets back, and Teddy Bridgewater's worth double what they're paying him.
Yeah, that's well said. And, at the end of the day, I think it's important for us all to remember that Teddy Bridgewater is a backup. He is a backup quarterback in the NFL. He is a backup quarterback for a reason, be that lack of ability, injury, whatever circumstances have led to him being the backup for the New Orleans Saints instead of a starter elsewhere. That's what he is. And so is his ceiling Case Keenum or Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he's a fringe starter and a deluxe backup? Is that the arc of his career? Or could he be Joe Flacco or Matt Stafford, where he's a statistically relevant starter that, maybe with the right support could make a run in the playoffs? Is he Nick Foles? Is he one of those guys that can make a run with the right roster? Or, is his ceiling maybe, I could throw any other guy out there, but the point here is I don't think he'll ever be Brees or Rodgers or Brady, whatever, or Mahomes. He's never going to be one of those guys. He's not a transcendent quarterback. Can the Saints win with him? Can they go far with him with the right support?
Is he Eli?
I believe he is. I believe he can be. I believe he can be that. Yes.
Here's a question, Dave. Somebody brought up in the chat room. I just want to see the Saints get off to a good start and not have a ton of penalties. The Saints, they had a I don't know what you call it, but it's a chart where they plot teams on the graph, and they had the teams that had lost the fewest amount of points by penalties and the most amount of points by penalties. The Saints had lost the 3rd most points due to penalties.
This season?
For the season, yeah. They got to clean that shit up. I mean, it didn't bite them in the ass in Seattle, but that's the 2nd straight week. It's been a disaster almost when Teddy Bridgewater's getting into the game and they're having penalties early, whether it's holding, false starts, formation penalties. I mean, maybe it'll get better at home, but are you
Yeah,
two
I think
straight
he's.
weeks?
I actually think Bridgewater is partly to blame for that.
Explain.
Well, I just think first of all, I mean, it starts with breaking out of the huddle. You got a different voice. It's not a guy that you're comfortable with. He maybe calls the play a little differently. His cadence is a little different, and so that takes a little while to get used to. And when you're expecting Brees to say it a certain way, or you're expecting him to break out of the huddle a certain way, and it's a little different, you lose a split second there, maybe just thinking about things. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I just think when he's escaping the pocket or doing an offensive lineman maybe used to Drew stepping into a pocket, and so you're like, oh shit, he's out of the pocket, and you grab a jersey, you start to hold. So
Yeah, thanks to the NFL for cutting down the holding penalties after Tom Brady told him to stop. Thank him for that. That was nice. So,
yeah,
Andrew, you still there?
I'm still here. Yeah.
So,
I don't know. You texted me that my audio was bad, so I thought I should stop talking.
He sounded fine to me.
Yeah, you just sounded a little bit wobbly for like 2 minutes, but it's fine.
Did I sound wobbly to you, Dave?
No.
Maybe it's just me.
Uh-oh. Yeah. All right. Well,
Could be
let's
issue.
not
What do the
blame me
people-
when it's Ralph's fault. I mean, my God.
Probably it's always my fault. But
It's
that's
never my
a
fault.
good point, Andrew. But I think they've got to clean that up. Especially, look, we'll preview Dallas at the end of the night. But they gotta get that cleaned up. But oh, by the way, Dave, speaking of people cleaning up, I cleaned up gambling this week. If people
You
wanted
did?
to, I did. If people
You
wanted
did?
to. I did. I went 5-0 in my WWL picks, and I went 4-1 in my picks on the gambling show on Friday. So I made a little bit of money. So if people wanted to do like me and
Your
gamble on
Greenway
football,
boys screwed me, Dave.
Oh, wait. After this, we're talking about this. Because they didn't screw me. But if you are going to bet, I think you should go to my bookie. It's easy, and they pay when you win. Because let's face it, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. Did you know you could bet on a game after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like your bet is going to lose, like if you had bet on Tulane to win, then you could just always take the other side, and you could have bet for Houston, and then you would have been a big fat fucking loser, motherfucker.
True.
double whammy of
So
sadness.
join now, and my bookie will double your first deposit. So use promo code armchair to activate the offer. That's promo code armchair. So visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. Let's talk about Tulane, ladies and gentlemen.
Where's my shirt, Dave? Where's my McCleskey Miracle T-shirt? Where is it?
I think we might be calling it the Mick Miracle, for Macmillan or whatever.
The best 7 of
that
20 quarterback, 7 of 20 completions ever.
So yeah, that's right. After that game, De'Ara King on Houston, the quarterback, he's going to transfer, or he's sitting out the rest of the season now. We totally destroyed Houston and their football program.
So sad. Sad.
It was tough. For those, but just a quick recap for those that don't know, we always talk about LSU. It's time to give Tulane a little love because they're finally doing very well. They played Houston in Yeoman Stadium. They were favored by 5 points. I made a little friendly wager with my buddy Joe, who may or may not be listening, and I even gave him the 5 points because he's a degenerate gambler. I even gave him the 5 points, and I said Tulane's still going to win. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Tulane goes down 28-7. They are down by 21 points. They wind up coming back. This team, they have the mental toughness that we love to see in a football team. They are a great group of guys. They came back from 21 points. They wound up winning the game, covering the 5-point spread. It was the most exciting game in Yeoman Stadium in the short history of Yeoman Stadium.
And they ran a filthy trick play that was just art.
They ran a variation of the old fumble Ruski. They faked the kneel down. but they handed it off to another guy that faked like he was just kneeling there, and then he wound up taking off and running while the quarterback McMillan faked as if he was doing a bootleg out to the other side. But the funny thing was, is I just saw an article today. Tulane played Auburn week 2 and they lost, but they gave them a good run for their money, I thought, for an SEC team. And Gus Malzahn admitted, their head coach admitted, I guess it was today at a press conference, that he was wondering why Willie Fritz, the coach of Tulane, why he called a timeout late in the second quarter, right before the half, why he called this a timeout. And it was because our coach, Willie Fritz, he recognized that Malzahn was about to run that same, a similar version of that same fake Fumblerooski kneel down. And Fritz recognized and called the timeout and stopped it from happening. So that's
Clever man.
We have a Willie Fritz is a good man, and he's an even better football coach. And I'm really enjoying this.
Tulane might be going to a decent bowl.
3-1. Maybe we might be going to what do we want? The winner of the AAC goes to
Liberty?
Football. Yeah, the Liberty Bowl. Yeah,
Liberty. So back to the Saints, and look, we didn't talk about it. Me and Andrew, by the way, you should sign up for the daily podcast. The grades are awesome. Do it at $10. You get Andrew's grades, you get the grade podcast, you get the daily podcast every day. Me and Andrew have been positive on these, and we were super positive on Monday, and they resume Thursday, the daily ones. But Andrew, there are some things to be concerned about, and my main concern is Marshawn Lattimore. He just looks like a shell of what he was in 2017. Like, where is the corner that's good? Is it him? Is it the defensive they're asking him to play? What is wrong with him? And how can we get him back? How can we get 2017 Marshawn Lattimore back?
Well, I think he's going to get opportunities to go back to his normal self because teams are not afraid to throw at him. We've seen this now 3 weeks in a row. The Texans were able to have success with him covering Hopkins. The Rams, right out of the gate early in the game, went deep to Brandon Cooks and beat him, and then targeted him in the red zone again, and were able to beat him with Brandon Cooks. And then, this past week, he had some struggles on the deep ball again. And he was beat once on a deep ball. And so, Lattimore, especially late in that game when the Saints went to kind of prevent, they were throwing underneath his way a lot. I mean, Russell Wilson, that was his first read every time was Lattimore. So I think until he is able to intercept a ball or bat a couple third down passes down in a row or make plays, I think teams are going to continue to go his way. And it's a concern for me. I don't know what's going on with him or why he's had moments. That's the thing. Like he's when the play has been in front of him in general, he's tackled well. He's been physical. When the play is over his head, he's getting beat consistently. And so my main thing is, hey, he's going up against Amari Cooper this week. He's going up against Mike Evans the following week. And I just, based on the tape that they're seeing, Dak Prescott and Jameis Winston are going to go after him.
I barbecue your ass in molasses.
Pretty much that.
I know they are. Yeah. And it's going to be up to him. I think at some point they will say, oh, he's corrected it. He's good again. It's not working out for us throwing his way. But so the way I look at it, it's both good and bad in that I know he's going to get plenty of opportunities to redeem himself because teams aren't going to be afraid to go after him. But the bad thing is that if he really just doesn't have it and he's slipping, then you're looking at guys like Mike Evans and Amari Cooper embarrassing him.
Dave, how many weeks do we give the defense before we start to really worry? Because look, last year they sucked opening week. They got better against Cleveland, but they had massive failures right at the end, and it took a miracle and bad kicking to win. Atlanta, week 3, they were trash. the Saints just managed to win in overtime because Drew Brees was amazing, and the Saints managed to win. And then they found their footing. How long do we give them before we start to be like, this is not good?
Well, I mean, winning this game in Seattle. Actually, I don't know. I'm actually thinking about it now, and I'm kind of changing my mind. I was going to say that it gives them a longer leash. It gives them a little bit longer of a timeline.
Well,
to
the
prove
thing that gives them a longer leash is the NFC South is trash.
It's true. It's been very nice to be in this
So
division
great.
this year.
It's so great.
Facts only.
But then I was thinking, well, maybe since we've proven that we can beat a team like Seattle on the road in the rain, then we should be able to beat a lot of other teams. So I don't know. You can look at it either way. I don't know if it's going to be a problem. I'm really optimistic now after this last game. If the team can play a complete game and rally around Bridgewater and while we wait for Brees to come back, I think that they're going to be
I
okay.
mean-
I think 3-3 at the bye, or when's our bye? Week 8.
4-4.
Yeah, 4-4 by the bye. I think that's honestly at this point, I think that would be mildly disappointing because we just
here's
stole one from Seattle, and we really want to win against the Bucks. And then who's after that? Carolina.
Then they have Arizona and the Bears, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on, Arizona.
Well, Jack, let's see. I mean, they have some
the
they have some
Bears'
hard
defense
defenses
gives a
coming
shit.
up. I will say an aside, which was just fantastic. It was a story on the Falcoholic. They were comparing Dan Quinn to 2014 Mike Smith, and I just crushed that article up and snorted it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds pornographic.
It was porn. I just like it was just like doing a line of coke. I was just like, oh, it was so good. So they literally Dan Quinn is like, if they lose to Tennessee and then they go to Houston and lose, they'll be 1-4. Dan Quinn's getting fired, and when you fire your coach, I mean that's just your season's done. And so I mean, 8-8, 9-7 is probably winning the South, but I do think.
I don't know. We're not worried about the new quarterback in Carolina.
I mean, Arizona's defense is hot garbage. I mean, I know he lit them up, but I mean, they're like Arizona's defense. I think they're 30th in yards and 31st in points, or 29th in points. But Andrew, you made a point that you were talking about the win in Seattle sort of seemed to energize the fan base, obviously, but the team seemed to be energized by it, and you sort of had a feeling that like they're playing with a little bit of house money now. Explain that.
Well, I mean, I just think when we looked at the schedule, just going back to every time the schedule comes out in April or whenever it is, it's human nature. We go through this and we kind of pencil win, loss, and I went 11-5. I know Dave did too. And you go through that exercise, and we all said, man, those first 4 games are tough. And we all said, hey, and this is before Drew got hurt or anything. And we said, hey, if they can go 2-2 with Drew during this period, we consider that a win, because then afterwards the schedule softens up a little bit. And if they go 1-3, they're digging themselves a hole. If they start 0-4, it's a disaster. And if they're 2-2, then we feel pretty good. So they come into this game against the Cowboys 2-1. Now the Cowboys are playing great. They're 3-0. The combined record of the opponents they've played is 1-8. So they've had easy games, but they've curb stomped all 3 teams. So I think you got to give credit where credit is due. They look good. The chemistry that Dak has with Amari Cooper has carried over from last year. If you remember how much Dallas's offense ascended when they acquired him, that seems to have carried over and has continued. So Amari Cooper has been huge for that offense. Ezekiel Elliott, he held out for a while, but he looks like his normal self. So Dallas is a good team. And this is going to be a very, very tough game for the Saints. But I do feel like it's house money in the sense that, hey, you've got Bridgewater. You're 2-1. You're supposed to lose this game. But I don't know. There's this weird thing about they were all on the West Coast for a week together. They've got a little momentum. They're behind Teddy. They found a way to win, and they're coming back home to the Superdome. Weird shit happens, and I just feel like there's belief. They're in first place. They could win this game.
Well, if they win, I mean, I think the Dome is going to be insane Sunday just because I think people are going to be so still on the high from winning in Seattle without Breeze. Like, I think that Sunday night crowd is always lubed and sort of electric.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too,
That's
Ralph. Like
because they're drunk.
you mentioned,
Yes.
you mentioned this earlier, Ralph, and I agree with you. But wouldn't it be the Saintsiest thing ever? I think I actually predicted this a couple weeks ago that they beat Seattle, that they beat Dallas. Like
Destroy
Bridgewater
Dallas.
has
Look
an amazing
fantastic.
game. Yeah, Bridgewater has an amazing game. The Saints are 3-1. We're like, oh, we don't even need Breeze. Things are amazing. We're like on, cloud nine. And they come back the following week against Tampa, and Bridgewater throws 4 interceptions. They get killed at home by Tampa. Like
So
that would
Saintsy.
just be the Saintsiest thing ever. Now, I would prefer to beat Tampa. I think for winning the division and everything that's at stake, like I would, if we're going to be 3-2, I'd rather beat Tampa and lose to Dallas. But I don't know. It would be very Saintsy.
It would be. So we got some questions. This is from Chris. Dave, do you see our pass rush being any more effective in getting to Dak, or should we expect more extended plays that will roast our secondary, a la Russell Wilson?
I mean, I don't, keep up that much with the Cowboys, but I know in years prior, including up to last year, they've had a great offensive line, and I think they've kept most of those guys on the team and intact.
True.
So, Dak's going to have plenty of time, and
It's number 3 scoring offense in the NFL.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, well, are we talking about this game or no? Because I'm ready to go
Not
off.
yet, because we're answering
okay.
we're answering questions from people.
Andrew was talking about it, and I was ready to jump in there. I held myself back, and now I'm holding myself back again.
This is from
But anyway,
this is
so
from
yeah,
Chef-
so
This is from Chef Oubre. By the way, Chef Oubre, you are a $25 patron. We have to do your drunk history. We have to get that done. You are one of the initial drunk history people. You are more than qualified. Get with me and contact me. We will get your drunk history recorded, my guy. But he asks, what wine do you think Belichick is sipping after turning down the lights, opening the jar of lube, and putting on the Thomas Morstead punt film from Sunday? I'd bet money he's a Cabernet man. I mean, I think Belichick is.
You
I think
don't think he's
Belichick.
a Merlot?
Maybe I think he's a Pinot guy. He looks like a secret, he's a Pinot guy, and he says it with pride. And since he's got 6 Super Bowl rings, nobody tells him that's trash wine to drink. But I think Belichick's a Pinot guy.
Belichick's, he's not a Meritage guy. That's for sure.
what's wrong with Pinot? I thought Merlot was the trash wine.
I don't know. I drink bourbon.
Yeah.
Here's
Honey
a question
bourbon.
from Eric. Andrew.
Infused with honey and mint.
Yes, infused with honey and mint. Although not tonight. Tonight it's just straight Gatorade, hoping that it doesn't run through me like shit through a goose. This is from Eric, Andrew. This is a good question. Are the Saints going to keep Kamara on a pitch count, or is Peyton thinking, fuck it, we're just going to get him a leg replacement in the off season?
Well, I mean, the Saints went full fuck it in the Seattle game, so why stop now?
I mean, the thing is, though, man, I worry about him if he gets to 250, 300, or God forbid, over 300 touches. His body, I know he bounces off tackles and this and that, and he's amazing, but I just worry about the wear and tear. I would worry about any running back, but especially him.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, what's this? Latavius Murray only got 2 touches on Sunday. I mean, at what point are they? I mean, they've got him. I think he's, from what we've seen, he's pretty decent. He can break off a big run. He can break tackles. He runs tall. But I mean, everything we saw in preseason and earlier this season, I thought was good. I mean, when are they going to start using him? I mean, he's sitting there.
That's a good question.
My bust position is kind of looking pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't think that has anything to do with his performance. It's almost like just like you were just saying. I mean, Kamara just
Dude,
they're
if
running-
he's
they're
not,
running into the
I
ground.
disagree with you. If he's not in the game, Sean Payton doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you look at Sunday's game, you can easily say,
Dude, the last two games
they
he
knew
has
Kamara
7
was the hot
carries for
hand.
9 yards. 7
I
carries,
understand.
9 yards.
I
Well, they
understand
can't.
that, but
They
you
can't.
look
They
at the
can't.
film. Tell me what you have seen on the film that leads you to believe that he hasn't been getting the job done.
I mean, he's not seeing the field. There's not much film to go by.
But they can't have Kamara doing 25 touches a week. That's 375 for the year. That's
Why not though? Why not? Like, I mean, I know that the Saints offense has always been kind of a
Spread it
committee
around.
thing. Yeah, but like
It's a committee of one.
I don't know, like Kamara doesn't have a lot of tread on he doesn't have a lot of wear on his tires. He's got a lot of tread. I mean, at Tennessee he didn't play a ton,
That's true.
and it's just
Now's
one of
the
those
time,
things
buddy.
where I mean, if they went full Pittsburgh Steelers Le'Veon Bell with him, and I'm not saying they should, but if they're like, you're touching the ball 400 times this year, I mean, you're heightening the risk for injury, of course. But what if he doesn't get injured?
Yeah,
What if we give him 400 touches this year?
I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know if Latavius Murray is a bust yet. But Dave, I am 100% sure that Jared Cook is a bust. Like
I was about to say, my next question is do you think we can trade Jared Cook for anything to anybody? Do you think the Miami Dolphins would take Jared Cook?
I did a trade in
We
fantasy.
could probably get Vince Beagle back for him.
I did a trade. No wait, I did a trade in the Saints Happy Hour adult fantasy league that I think in real life could work. I traded Jared Cook for Jimmy Graham. That could work. We could trade him. We could trade Cook for Jimmy Graham and bring back Jimmy Graham.
There is no way in hell the Packers are making that deal. No way.
There's no way in hell Jimmy
Skook
Graham is
says
coming
call
back.
up
Jimmy
Dan
Graham
Arnold.
has a touchdown this year. You know who doesn't? Jared Cook.
Is it Dan Arnold time at tight end?
I hope Jimmy Graham has more than 5 catches this season too.
Joshua says he's worse than Fleener.
I think he might have less actually.
He's worse. He's worse than Fleener. He is so much worse than Fleener. I would kill to have a tight end like Kobe Fleener on the Saints right now. Jared
Oh my
Cook.
My
Gosh.
God, ever since Graham left, I mean, they have never been able to fill that void. have
Jimmy Graham has 3 catches. He had 3 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown in the first game, and he hasn't had a catch since.
they? Wow.
Here's a
So
question.
maybe we could get him then. They seem pretty
Maybe.
much.
This is a question from Guy. What kind? Well, I would be for a Jimmy Graham trade. That would be one of our greatest breaking news podcasts ever, Andrew. If the Saints traded and brought Jimmy Graham back, it would just be amazing. It would just
Sign me
it
up.
it would just be me playing this and that over and over again for 10 minutes. Here's a question from Guy. What kind of Teddy is Teddy Bridgewater? Is he Teddy Ruxpin or Ted from a Seth MacFarlane film?
Oh,
gotta
he's
be Teddy.
definitely. He's Teddy Ruxpin. He's like so, soft spoken and humble and yeah, he's totally Teddy Ruxpin.
He looked really chill in the post-game press conference. Like he had like the casual thing going on. I liked it a lot. You know, I admit I'm on Team Teddy 100%. So that thanks everybody.
Joshua Ford in the chat room just asked over under Jared Cook has more touchdown passes, or I'm assuming he means more touchdown receptions than Fleener has concussions.
How many concussions did Fleener have?
I don't know, 5.
With the Saints? Did he have 5?
I mean,
okay.
that were reported, maybe 3.
We'll say Fleener had 3.5. Is Jared Cook going to get to 3.5 touchdown catches, Dave?
No.
Nope.
I mean, Jared Cook, he better get it together, or they may just. I could see the Saints just like cutting him and walking away. Like,
who would they play though? Who would they play?
I don't know.
I mean, I get that maybe
Taysom.
they draft a guy, but no, they're not starting Taysom at tight end. Come on.
They could start playing
Not
Taysom
because
at
they
tight end when
shouldn't.
Drew gets back.
Not
For
because
sure.
they shouldn't.
Maybe.
Not because they shouldn't, and not because they couldn't, but they won't start Taysom at tight end.
What? Well, Taysom already has a touchdown, so he's already one up on Cook in that
True.
department. Super Deform says Louisiana fans love them a white quarterback. I am just excited. I really hope in the next 5 weeks, like Teddy Bridgewater just continues to turn out 20 of 27 for 180 yards, and the Saints continue to win. Just because it's funny, because it drives the analytical people fucking batty. And if the Saints, my dream scenario is Teddy Bridgewater throws for 180 yards, and Sean Payton is doing really weird things with Taysom Hill, because there's like Pete Prisco and like 3 or 4 other analytics guys. They fucking hate Taysom Hill in the game, and whenever he scores, people just ratio them to death, and it's just the best. So let's get to the game on Sunday. Dylan asked, "Why aren't you pounding the Saints plus the 3 with your mortgage payment?" But Dave, the Saints are a 3-point underdog to the Cowboys at home on Sunday night. Who you got?
All right. So Andrew said at least once, maybe a couple of times, he had a lot of positive things to say about the Cowboys. They're a good team. They're 3-0. Let me tell you something. That's bullshit. The combined record for the teams they've beat is 1 and 8. Okay.
But they have curb stomped them.
Good for them. Good for them. Okay. They beat the Dolphins. Ooh, yeah. You feel tough, don't you? They beat the who did they
Redskins.
The Redskins. Oh yeah, they're a dumpster fire. Jay Gruden about to get fired. They beat the Giants when they had Eli. That was pre Daniel Jones. So don't even talk to me about that. They haven't played anybody good. And they've got Dak, they've got Zeke, they've got a great offensive line. I understand they are a good team on paper, but they're in the dome. The Saints, they're going to be a new kind of it's not with Drew, it's without Drew, but it's a new kind of amped up. And I think this is going to be tougher than Dallas expects, and they haven't played anybody good. They haven't been tested. They haven't been challenged. And I'd like to see what they do when, everybody's tough until they get punched in the mouth. So I'm going to say Saints. It's Sunday Night Football. I mean, come on. It's prime time in the Dome. I'm going to say Saints. I'm not going to go crazy and say 35. I'll say 27. And I'm going to say Cowboys 17. Ooh. And the referees are gonna miss a.
Here it is.
The referees are gonna miss. By the way, I just saw an article earlier. The same referee that missed the face mask call in the Eagles game, where the guy just totally ripped the guy's helmet off, was the same referee, the same back judge from the no call in the NFC Championship game. So,
great.
So shocker there, by the way, shocker. And I'm going to say the referees are going to call a. No, that's not. They've been calling holding all. I'm going to say they're going to miss a face mask penalty on Teddy Bridgewater. It might not be crucial as far as the game is concerned, but it will be a missed call. And I think the player of the game. What was that?
That was a cat.
Please tell me that I wasn't the only one that heard that.
The perils of Pearland, man. What do you want?
Ralph just farted. And player of the game, let's go with you know what we were ragging on earlier. Marshawn Lattimore going to be locking it down on.
Wow.
Cooper.
I don't know. Well, Gallup's not going to be playing, so I don't know who's the next guy up for the.
I picked
for
up
the
Gallup
Cowboys.
and immediately put the Marlboro fantasy stink on him.
Thanks. I have you to blame for that.
All right, Andrew. So who do you got?
Cowboys 30, Saints 17. I think it'll be a comfortable win for the Cowboys. I picked the Saints to lose last week. That seemed to work well, so I see no reason to change that. I don't know. I don't feel great about this game. There is the whole house money thing, which tempts me to pick the Saints, but I just don't think Bridgewater. This game, I think, will demand that he step up his performance, and he's going to have to sling it, and he's going to have to be able to keep up with the Dallas offense, which unfortunately, the big matchup to watch for me is Lattimore against Cooper, because I think Dallas is going to go after him. And I don't think he's going to do great, unfortunately. But I think that's the one. If Lattimore can have a huge game and shut down Cooper, then that changes things for me. But I don't think he will.
So you don't think he will? What's your score?
I think he wound up getting cut out.
Oh,
Didn't sound like he was done talking.
he did not.
It sounded like he died.
He died.
In the middle of
He
his
just
prediction.
Out he go.
That's what happens when you go against the Saints.
Yeah.
My computer died, so now I'm on my cell phone.
There you go.
Okay. Welcome
Nice.
back.
Yeah.
Nice recovery.
So what's your score, Andrew?
Sorry, did I say 30-14 or 30-17? I can't remember.
30-17.
I think it was 30-17, yeah. So Dallas wins. But, if Lattimore – so the thing is, I don't think the Saints can fall I mean, if you remember the game against Dallas last year, I just don't think they can be in an early deficit. If it's 14-0, they can't play catch up and the game's over. So I think the ideal scenario, if you're imagining a way the Saints win, it's they go down, they get a touchdown, and it's 7-0. And then Dallas comes down, the defense holds, and it's 7-3. And then, there's a couple weird plays, maybe a holding penalty that stalls a couple drives. And then the Saints go down and they have this methodical drive that burns like 8 minutes off the clock. And then it's 10-3 Saints, and Dallas has 2 minutes and 17 seconds left in the half. And that's where I think maybe Dallas starts to feel tested. Dak is feeling some pressure. Like that, to me, that's the path to a win, because then the crowd is amped. And I just think if it can become that kind of game, then the Saints can win. But what I fear is that Dak goes down, hits Amari Cooper, beats Lattimore 7-0. Teddy goes 3 and out. Zeke runs rips a big run, boom, 14-0. Like, it's over. I just don't see the Saints recovering from that. So how the Saints start in this game is going to be crucial.
Well, here's the thing with my attitude. Sunday was so much fun against Seattle in the rain and with Teddy and all that. And I want the fun scenario, the Saints to win, because it's fun for the podcast, obviously. But I think to even amp up my enjoyment of the 2019 Saints season, this has to happen. The Saints need to win 27-24, but Ted Ginn needs to be involved, and Teddy Bridgewater needs to hit him on like a 7-yard hitch that Ted Ginn takes 85 yards for the win. So we can have this Teddy Bridgewater argument every single week that the Saints win, that Teddy Bridgewater was 21 of 27 and didn't throw a pass longer than 5 feet. And I could just tweet at all the stat nerds, I don't give a fuck. The Saints are 3-1, the Saints are 4-1, and that's what I want to have happen. So that's what I'm saying is going to happen. Saints 27, Dallas 24. Ted Ginn is your Saint hero of the week. How about that?
I like it.
So, thanks to everybody for Joshua says you want another CJ Spiller ending without the overtime. That's exactly what I want, Joshua. I want another CJ Spiller ending
I would
without
love
the
that.
overtime.
I'll take the overtime. It's fine. It's fine.
Overtime. You gotta go to work in the morning. I gotta.
Are you going to the game?
No, I could. I got a huge week at work. I couldn't swing it.
Dude, if you offered me overtime right now, I'm so taking that. Because then it's a coin flip game, right?
Yeah. No. Jared.
If you offer me coin flip game right now, I am absolutely taking that.
I definitely probably would too. So, listen, everybody, thanks for joining us in the chat room. We got about a ton of you. It peaked at like 70 something. Now it's at 35. So thanks to everybody for joining us. We have hit 500 subscribers, unless a couple of you drop out maybe. So that means next week 2 extra large t-shirts get given away, and Dave will ship them to your destination. And oh, by the way, thanks to all the international people, you probably listen to this later, Nick and Corey and David, they tweeted us on the Saints Happy Hour Twitter feed that they got their swag, they got their magnet and their koozie. If you are a $7 patron, we will ship our swag anywhere in the world. We don't give a shit if it's Antarctica.
You're not eligible for the free t-shirt if you trash Teddy Bridgewater after a win. Just FYI.
Yes, and we will hunt you down. So, but thanks to everybody for joining us in the chat. The live stream is always fun. Sorry it was a day late. I was, as Dave texted me on Monday, a pussy that I couldn't fight through the stomach bug, but I was worried that I would fuck it up, because we all know even when I'm not sick and completely sober, the chances that this podcast get off right are slim. So with me with a stomach bug, it was never going to happen. But anyway, for Kevin, who's MIA, for Dave, for Andrew, until next week, the bar is closed.